In today's episode, I speak with Colandri from Namibia. She's taking time off her studies in Germany to discover Spain and has found the time to answer my questions about a fascinating country, a job as a safari guide, and teach me how to spend a free night in a fancy hotel of Ibiza. Enjoy! And welcome back to Ubik Cafe for a new episode of Travels Tête-à-Tête. And today I'm speaking with Colandri.
Hello Thomas, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm 24 years old and I'm coming from Namibia, and my profession is that I'm a safari guide or a nature guide or a field guide, conservationist. Yeah.
Is this your first time in Europe?
At the moment I'm on holiday, so I guess I'm traveling a little bit. I am working in Europe for the year. So first time in Europe, I arrived in January, in the middle of winter. I started to study in January, and I had to quit my safari guide job to do that because it's very long hours to be a safari guide, and it didn't go hand in hand with the study. The study is online, which gives me geographical freedom, so I thought long, do I want to go sit in my parents' house and do my studies there, or I find a job that takes half the day and have the other day, half of the day to do the studies. And so I decided to look at some au pair programs, or actually quite a few different things. With the Namibian passport, it's not so easy to just travel or to go study in any place. That's why I chose Germany.
Yeah, you chose Germany because of the ties between Germany and Namibia, because Namibia was a colony of Germany?
Yeah, exactly. So Namibia was a colony of Germany. Namibia has quite strong ties with Germany, and yeah, I really looked hard at other options, and I don't think Namibia has many other connections around the world. So yeah, that's the country that made the most sense. Yeah. So at the moment I'm living close to Düsseldorf in Germany, au pairing. I think it's quite an easy life. The kids are at school until 3-4 p.m. So I have most of the day to myself, and they go to sleep at 8, so that's 4 hours. And the rest of the time, I have for myself. At the moment they are on a little holiday, so that gives myself some free time to explore. Yeah.
Okay. You told me just before we started that you missed the sun a lot, so that's why you came to Spain exactly?
So the sun has been a big bonus, definitely. Yeah, so when I realized that I had these 3 weeks to do something with myself or anything I wanted, I went onto the Google Flights, and I watched somewhere in a YouTube video that if you just put in your location and you say to anywhere, it shows up quite cheap, good deals. So this is what I did, and that's how I planned my holiday. So the first thing that came up was Mallorca, Palma. I think the flight was something like 35 euros, which is ridiculous. Yeah, off to Mallorca for 3 days. Like I say, the sun was a big bonus. The heat, taking a break from the winter, supposed to be spring in Germany, but still quite cold. Yeah, and then again did the same Google Flights from Mallorca to anywhere. And I think this was the craziest one. So the next flight was 8 euros. It was 8 euros for me to fly from Mallorca to Valencia. I was like, what the hell? I cannot even take the train from where I live to Düsseldorf for 8 euros. So yeah, that's why I'm here at the moment. And the next place I put in was Paris, or that popped up was Paris, with a little layover, quite a big layover in Ibiza. So that's my holiday I planned.
In your case, since you are from Namibia, how does it compare to travel in Europe compared with traveling in Namibia or in Southern Africa?
There's a big difference. First, when I arrived in Germany in January, I think I was completely overwhelmed with the public transport system, because I was trying to overcomplicate it, and it's so simple, it's extremely easy. Basically, you can go from anywhere you want. You don't need a car. You can end up on an island. You can yeah, like I say, go in any direction. I think that makes it quite easy. People don't need to own a car, or a tourist traveling to Europe doesn't need to rent a car. If you visit Namibia, it's quite a big surface area country. You have to rent a car. You definitely have to rent a car, and you're driving between cities. You can drive for 2, sometimes 3 hours without seeing anything. So no city, no human, no stop in between fuel stations. So walking is not an option. Hiking is not an option. I think that's the biggest difference. So it's a little bit more complicated. And of course, when you visit Europe, you have the advantage. I now have residency in Germany for the year, but super amazing. That includes the whole Europe. So mind blown for me. I think I told you yesterday when I crossed the border from Germany to the Netherlands, which is quite close to where I live in Germany. Yeah, I asked my friends, like, do I need to bring my passport? Like, people laughed at me. So very nice that you can just cross the borders quite easily in Europe without having to worry about a visa or anything like that. If you want to visit Namibia, from Europe, for example, you have to spend your holiday in Namibia. If you want to visit another country, you're gonna have to go through some more visa procedures, and it's not so simple. But I'm realizing now I'm saying that from a Namibian passport perspective. I'm actually not sure how it is. I know, like, even Germans need a holiday visa, a tourist visa to visit Namibia. I'm sure it's the same for people from the US and UK.
So you were mentioning that you were a tourist guide in Namibia, but you are now you're going to study in Europe or in Germany. Are you going to study in the same field, or are you going to completely switch to another domain?
So my last job, I ended up being the head guide, which I would say I'm quite proud of. Quite a big accomplishment for my age. I think also to be a lady, a woman in the industry, it's quite rare. So I wanted to start my own company, adventure travel company. Again, as a safari guide, you're also sitting on your butt, driving around. I was a little bit tired of sitting. Like, I'm someone who needs to move, walk, cycle, paddle, be a little bit more busy. Yeah, I thought about this company already for 3 years, and when I quit my job, I had some money saved up either to put into this company, or the other option was to study something. And I looked at one of my friends who started up her own restaurant, and she's 26 years old, and I just saw how hard this woman was working, how much stress is taking. She cannot take a day off, she cannot take a break, she needs to take all the responsibility. Of course, I think that's what it's like when you want to start your own company. And then I thought, like, yeah, for being 24 years old, I don't know if I'm quite there to commit to, like, give up my freedom like that. So I went for the studies, and the studies is marketing. So it is a little bit in a completely different field, yes. But the idea behind it is to use whatever I'm learning now to go back and to still start my own company. So if I do fall on my ass with this big plan, which I think is a possibility, I have a degree, I always have this backup. And I think you feel more secure taking risks if you know you have a backup.
And you're going to build on your skills that you have already in your previous job, and that you're going to create something, some business of your own as well. So yeah, you're going to mix both of them and build something for you in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I think I also mentioned this to you yesterday. I say it again. I'm also slowly starting to realize that you should not try to do everything yourself, master all the skills, be the marketer, be the one who runs the admin, do the finances, guide the guests, plan the tours. So I realize eventually you have to, choose your best skills, which for me, I'm the guide. That's what I want to be. I want to be, like I said earlier, I need to be in the bush. I cannot be the one behind the computer, but I think if you are the owner of a company, it helps to know, to have the knowledge about these skills that your employees need to have. Are they doing a good job? So I don't think it's going to be useless. And then again, like I said, it's like a backup in case something happens. I have a qualification, a degree to do something with.
About your job as a tourist guide, when you were in Namibia, what kind of tourists are coming? Mostly Americans, Europeans? What are they looking for when they come to Namibia?
I'd say most guests are German. Quite a few from the US as well. There's different seasons. You have, I think, is it November? I'm not 100% sure now, but you have seasons, I think, when Europe have their holidays, so then you get a lot of Europes. You see them coming in waves. Like there's 1 month that you just have lots of Dutch people. The Germans are always in between throughout the year, and then a wave of Americans coming through, and then I think actually November is quite a rare one. Japan, people from Japan, not a lot, but if there are people from Japan coming, I think that's only in November. So you have these waves. I guess it's whenever they have some kind of holiday. Few people from Australia, very few Chinese people from Asia, except now a little few bits of Japan. Very few South America as well. I think they all like to come here.
When you are a tour guide, when you are, I imagine you welcome them, you welcome them, you organize a trip for them, you know already where you're going to take them, everything is prepared?
So you get different kinds of guides. My older brother is also a guide, so it's a little bit in the family, this tourism industry. My brother was a 4x4 overlanding guide, so basically people arrive in one city, let's say Windhoek, and they all get their 4x4 vehicles, and then they go into extreme areas, and they move around, and for let's say the 14 days or 20 days, how long ever they are there, my brother is the guide of these people for the whole 3 weeks.
Describe extreme. What do you mean by extreme?
So Namibia, home to 2 different deserts, thick 4x4 sand, mountains. So you cannot really drive as a tourist in these areas alone. I mean, you can get stuck easily, and you need to be more than one vehicle, and it's difficult to navigate. There are not clear signs where to go. So there's the guide, here's the GPS, here's the planned out routes. Otherwise, you have the main tourist attractions, which you can go by tar road, but these people, they're taking more exclusive, but you get normal tour guides who you can also be in a big bus. So normally, a group of young girls from Switzerland or whatever, they like to do this. They go into a big bus, and they start in the south of Namibia, or sometimes even in Cape Town, and they move their way up north for 2 or 3 weeks and end up at Victoria Falls. So throughout the stay, they stay at 20 different places, and they have their guide that is with them for the whole time. So that's basically what my brother did. I was employed as a safari guide, so meaning I work at one property where these tour guides will stop with their guests. And in my case, I don't know if you know Etosha National Park. It's, I think one of Namibia's iconic landmarks, landscapes. It's a big national park, half the size of the Netherlands, but it's quite a big park. With lions, elephants, rhinos, cheetahs, all the nice things tourists want to see. And like I said, that's a national park, and then you get private game reserves around these areas. So the national park is run by the government, and then the private properties around it, that's obviously privately owned. There's some little gaps in the fences, so animals still move in and out. So on the private property, we always also have the elephants just anyway walk through the fence, even if there is a fence. So We also have the elephants, lions, all the big game. And then I think the quality and the service is a little bit much better than what you get inside the park. So people prefer to then stay in the private parks. You can do a private safari on the private property. That's then what I do. So the tour guides bring their guests. They're not allowed to drive on our property with their vehicles. So they have to book an activity with us, and then if they are nice tour guides, they let you do the guiding. But sometimes, you have guests who can only speak German, so I cannot speak fluently German, so it's like translating or explaining a little bit to the guests there to make them feel comfortable. So this is the two kind of guides that you get, and I'm the one who's like stationary in one property now.
I guess with all your experiences as a tour guide in these national parks and these deserts, you like animals, right? You love animals. When you arrive in Europe, when you're visiting Europe, and there's not so much nature around the site maybe where you have been, were you prepared for the kind of city tourism we have here?
If I was prepared, but I would not say everything is like a big surprise. And maybe that's because I've met people from Spain, I've met people from Germany, I've met people from the Netherlands. In fact, I have friends from all these places. So I know, or I think I understood or had an idea what it's like. And like I said, I wanted to come to see and to experience it for myself. And I think from the beginning, I was mentally prepared that I'm taking a break from my nature comfort life there in the bush. And I arrived in the middle of January, in the middle of winter. Slowly we're starting to go into spring, so I was doing gardening, when was it, like a month ago in Germany, and I saw a butterfly, the first butterfly for the season, and I gave a little bit of a scream, like of excitement or happiness. And the woman where I live ran out of the house, and she's like, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" And I was like, "There's a butterfly." So I am very happy to slowly see, different insects coming out, more birds. I think one of the things that's extremely exciting is there's few birds that migrate from Namibia, between Namibia and Europe. Yeah. Last week I saw, for example, some European bee eaters. They just migrated 1 month ago from Southern Africa. Okay. So, I mean, it's crazy.
So they are following you.
Every year they do this. And I'm a big birder, and I took a walk in the Netherlands 2 weeks ago with someone, and I heard a bird called the willow warbler. It's a bird I never saw before, but I know the sound of it. Uh-huh. It's a very rewarding feeling to hear a bird which the call, and you look and you see it, and you've heard the sound in Namibia before, and now you're seeing it. It's very nice. So slowly, the birds are migrating back. The trees are going green, the flowers are coming out. So I think it's getting a little bit better. I told my mother 2 days ago, Namibia, obviously 2 deserts, lots of sand, lots and lots of sand. I realized that I am grateful for the sand. And of course, if you think about where the life on Earth is coming from, things start in the soil. So first, if you want to have a healthy garden or whatever, you have to make sure that you have healthy soil, and when you have healthy soil, the trees can grow, and when the trees are growing, the birds are going to come, and when the birds are going to come, the cycle is going on. So I miss to see the soil, because walking through Valencia for the last 4 days, you don't
macadam, cement,
exactly. And in Mallorca, Palma, the streets are a little bit smelling like pee.
Oh, I confirm. That's unfortunately very common around the area.
But it's completely understandable, because if a dog or a human, I don't know who's responsible, is peeing there, let's say dog, I mean, where's it supposed to go? It cannot like go into the soil. So I miss the sand. Yeah, I think
the connection to nature
Yeah.
direct without interference.
exactly. Yeah. So I think there's no other choice. I mean, there's lots of people. You have to have all the houses. You have to have the infrastructure. And I think again that's maybe something where you in Europe, people from Europe are privileged or should be privileged for your infrastructure. Lots of people in Africa who doesn't have the infrastructure, so it's like a yin yang. And I have a few friends from Germany who live in Namibia or who kind of lives in both. They can choose. They have a German passport. They have a Namibian passport. And I've asked some of them, what do you choose? Like, what will you get to choose? You have the privilege to choose. And people choose Germany, which breaks my brain. I don't understand. I would not make that decision. But the reasoning behind it, it's understandable with the politics system or what's the...
For the safety, eventually. For the safety of the political and economical system.
Yeah, exactly. So you know you are always going to have a house, you're going to have running water, you're going to have food, and like you're going to be looked after, a pension, whatever. When you retire, you're going to have that retirement fund. So people then would choose to live in Germany and get the benefits from Germany and use that, I can say, like financial advantage or benefit, and then visit Namibia. So they always go back to visit. Where if I choose to live, if I could choose, and I say I would have chosen Namibia, you have the disadvantage of the currency difference, which makes it difficult. So you don't have all these benefits from the government. So you just, I think, struggling. Most people are struggling to save like for years to get to visit Europe. In my case, obviously, like I'm saying, I'm au pairing, I'm working, I'm living in someone's house, they're feeding me. So I think that's the only way people who are married or have kids can never do that. So if you choose to stay in Namibia, you're gonna visit Namibia, and you're gonna go on holiday in Namibia. You're not gonna go to holiday. So I think that's the difference or the disadvantage which you have then. But I think I choose the sand.
True. And just to come back to the birds, because you told me that in Valencia you saw a falcon in the street, which I've never seen in the 2 months around here. You're looking for these things.
I think you will be surprised. I saw one 3 days ago, I saw one yesterday. So I've seen them in different places of the city as well. They're definitely here. And with the birds, like I said, it's my passion. So I am very in tune with the sounds, and I almost want to call it like a disability, because I cannot not listen to the bird. If I hear it, I will stop speaking with you and cut everything else out and find the thing that I'm hearing. But if I just look, for example, at I know some of my friends and even my sister who lived in the capital in Windhoek, there's a parrot which is all over, same like in Valencia. This parrot is all over the show.
Parakeets?
Or parakeet, yeah. In your case, it's a parakeet. In Namibia, it's called a rosy-faced lovebird, so like a cute little parrot with pink cheeks, very beautiful. And like I say, all over. But when they're sitting in a tree, it's not so easy to see them. You have to first hear them. And so many times I've sat in Windhoek with some of my friends or family, and oh, look, there's a lovebird. And they're like, what? Some of these people lived their whole lives in Windhoek and they never saw this bird before. And you can, walking around in Windhoek, you can see them at least 5 times in a day. So, the things are there. You just need to look to see it. And I think the more you know about something, the more you see it. So when I started my guiding, first became, I think, the first thing that grabbed my attention was the birds. So that's still going. But then later you get into trees, and then you get into the butterflies, and then you get into the scorpions, or you take one thing at a time. And the most recent one was now the butterflies. And before that I didn't see butterflies. But now that I've like studied them a little bit, I see them everywhere. But yeah, that's not just for birds or butterflies. I think it's like in general with life. If you choose to focus on something, that's like gonna start being all around you. If you, for example, choose to be a negative person, you're gonna see all the negative shit. If you choose to be whatever you like want to attract, that's what you're gonna start like having around you.
Very well said, yeah.
After the birds, I read on your Couchsurfing profile that you were the mother of an orphaned rhinoceros. So what happened there?
So I think the world knows there's the issue of rhino poaching. People go to Africa, kill the rhino, cut off the horn, and I think, I know, mostly going back to China, and it's a huge issue. So like I say, people will, for example, like the private game reserve, also the national park, all reserves that have a rhino on it needs to have an anti-poaching unit. And for all guests, for example, that goes to stay at Onkuma safari camps, that's where I was working as a guide, they pay something like they pay a small fee as a rhino levy. So that small fee, every single guest that stays there pays this fee, and that money goes into the anti-poaching unit, because you have to buy rifles. I mean, this is a war.
Serious.
It's actually it's a war. These people need to be trained. I know, like for example, often they need to go through polygraph tests. I mean, just the polygraph test costs a lot of money. The list is endless. Camera traps to put on the reserve, and ideally, like Namibia is still quite underdeveloped. If you go to South Africa, place like Kruger National Park, these people have helicopters, they have canine dogs, they have squads, like crazy stuff, and that's a lot of money that goes into this war. I call it that, it's a war. So in my case, it was a rhino who had a baby calf, a mother, and the mother got shot and the horn cut off, and the baby rhino was alone. It didn't have a mother. My baby rhino was, it was quite tragic. I think he was, obviously you don't know always that the rhino has been killed, so you don't, every day go looking around for a calf walking by itself. But I think someone spotted the baby rhino, and they notified someone, and then people went out like looking for the rhino, and we think it was alone for a month, which is a long time. I mean, it's still suckling from the mother. It should still be drinking milk. It should not yet be eating plants like a big rhino. And so when we got it, you can like have a sonar done. It had one little poop left in its like intestines.
Okay.
And nothing in the belly, so it was very close to dying.
It was starving, basically.
It was starving, yeah. It was very, very dehydrated, very close to dying. So found it on the perfect time. Yeah, it was very small. It came to me on like the back seat of a car, and I don't know if you've seen a rhino before, an adult rhino in a zoo, yeah, but it's a 2-ton animal. It's a huge, it's a big animal. So it was very tiny. Then it takes a while. It's sick. It needs to build the trust of the human. So I was with him for 11 months. When I tell people this, I think everyone is like, "Oh, that's so amazing. You are so lucky," which I do think that I am. But like I say, it's confidential. So. No pictures on social media. I could tell my mother and I could tell my boyfriend, and no one else. So you also don't get a holiday from being a mother. So it's not like I can leave for a day or two to go somewhere, and at the same time no one could come visit me. So for 11 months I was living in a tent in the middle of the bush, alone.
Caring for the rhino.
Caring for the rhino, yeah. So there were 2 other people who like helped cleaning up the area. I think I made quite good friends with them. They like relieved each other. So In the daytime, the one is there. In the nighttime, the other one is there. Also, again, a security issue because it's still a rhino. You know, people figure out even if it's like just
still a wild animal then, which can...
Yeah. About the horn. So even if it's a baby and it has a tiny horn, someone figures this out, they'll see it's an easy rhino to come and kill. And I mean, I'm there next to it. There's a documentary if someone is interested. It's called Stroop, Stroop, and that explains this rhino poaching war quite well. It was the movie was shot in South Africa, how they go and investigate and follow. But in this documentary, there was also an orphanage with baby rhinos, and people came to kill the baby rhinos. So I think I was very lucky. Nothing ever happened. Like my baby rhino grew up, released back into the wild. So that's a success story. But it's not easy and fun. It's not a fun. It is an amazing thing to have done, but it's not like it was the time of my life.
Yeah, eventually you wish you wouldn't have to do that to protect a rhino from poachers. It's not. Ideally, we wouldn't even have to interact so much with them. They would be peacefully doing their stuff, and we would be on our side, and everybody happy.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, last year, just in June and July, I think there was something like 40 rhinos poached in Etosha National Park.
40?
That's 2 months. That was 2 extreme months, but still in South Africa, it's way worse. You have basically in the world every single day there's a rhino being poached. I read briefly something today on some WhatsApp group with conservationists. There's someone in South Africa who is breeding rhinos, and the idea is you have all these rhinos and you cut off the horn. People do this so they dart the animal to sleep. They cut off the horn, and the idea is that poachers are a little bit more demotivated to kill that one because it doesn't have so much of the horn to take away. So, but with this rhino breeder, he has all the rhinos, and then he cuts the horns, and then he wants to sell the horns to relieve the market a little bit.
Yeah, so that it becomes less and less profitable to hunt the rhino than to cut the rhino's horns, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you look at wheat, for example. You have the illegal market and the economy of a country. I think that's what Germany wants to do. They want to make it legal. They want to grow big wheat crops, and then that's going to help the economy. Instead of damaging the economy. So you legally, you make the rhino horn legal, and you have breeders, and you get the idea. Yeah.
On a more positive note, when you arrived in Valencia, I was very excited to talk about you because you're from Namibia. I never met anyone from Namibia before. And Namibia is one of these countries that we don't hear so much about in the news. So I guess this is a very mysterious country for us in Europe. It's fascinating to hear that, as you told me, there is 2.5 million people in Namibia. It's the size of France and Italy combined. So that really puts our little continent in a perspective, And the only thing I knew really about Namibia is that it has this long desert along the coast, from which its name comes from, and it's called the skeleton coast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oof, my history it's not the best, but when Europe started, or when Europe started spreading out and exploring, I think the main thing they wanted to do is to find a route to India. Was that it? So
around Africa.
Around Africa, yeah. Was the first one Bartolomeu Diaz. I think Portuguese.
Vasco da Gama.
One of these guys. So they took their ships and they sailed along Africa, and you have these crosses. I know, there's one a little bit northwest of Namibia along the coast, and there's one southwest along the coast, and you have the one in Cape Town. So these crosses they put up along the way, and so these people were stopping, I think, every now and then, probably to get their supplies, or I don't know what they were doing. And when they got to Namibia, I think it was a challenge, a big challenge. Namibia's ocean is quite rough, very strong currents, very cold ocean, big waves, wind, harsh environments. You can imagine, like now you have this crazy big desert, warm heat desert, and then you have the cold ocean. Those two pressures getting together creates
so really not good for old school sails.
Exactly.
Ships,
So Skeleton Coast, when you move in these areas, and that's actually one of the ones where you need a special permit, like my brother's tours I spoke about earlier. Not anyone can go there. There's no one living there. It's also a national park. When I had the privilege to go with my brother on one of these tours, so I've seen it, and there are these shipwrecks all along the coast. So
it's a cemetery of ships.
exactly, yeah. So it looks. I think ships have like wrecked, and then they've like sent SOSs or whatever, and help supplies like helicopters or planes to drop food supplies for these people that are stranded there. And I think, for example, one of the pilots wanted to. He was like, no, he can like help these people. If you looked at the surface area, like from the sky, it looked, it's flat.
Yeah.
I can land there and I can take these people with. So he landed and did not get back up again. So I mean, even planes that's lying around there with the harsh ocean, even some skeletons of whales, and
Wow.
it's a and like I said, with the heat from the desert and with the cold from the ocean, you have this like misty. It's very misty, like a belt of mist. So it also kind of looks spooky. It's something to see. I guess you should Google a picture to get the idea. But now with these like mist clouds, desert on the one side, super harsh ocean on the other side.
Sounds like a perfect holiday destination, yeah.
So-
Is there no towns, no villages?
Very few. So from Angola, which is the country bordering Namibia in the north, I don't know how many kilometers. I guess like 700 or so. That's all park. No city, no town.
All sand, all park.
Exactly. And I think that's also something that makes Namibia quite unique. If you look at the oceans all around the world, Valencia, New York, any ocean, that's where most of the people are staying. That's where the people, the biggest cities are located. That's the first place that gets like crowded. And I think Namibia is the only place in the world where you have the least densely populated area. Well, Namibia is already not very populated, but the least people live along the coast, and that's very unusual. Obviously, it's a choice of the government to make that part a park to protect it, because it's very unique. And then you have like in the middle of Namibia, along the coast, there's these few towns, very German vibes, called Swakopmund. The buildings looks like Germany. So this is a popular holiday destination. That's where everyone goes to do fishing or to go for holiday at the beach in Namibia. And then when you go south, it's called a spargebied, so again a German word. It means no entry, like no entry area, and that's not a park, that's mines. So mines, like for diamonds, diamond mining. Again, Namibia is also the Namib Desert. It's the oldest desert in the world, so you know how diamonds are formed. Lots of heat, pressure, time, and I mean there's plenty of that in Namibia. So the southern part, the Spargebied, that's where they did all the mining do all the mining. And it's quite scary. I looked on Google Maps, like a satellite images the one day to see what this area looks like, and you see these big dams, which I guess is like wastewater from the mines, and quite sad that it's so destroyed. This protected area, extremely special. There are elephants, there are lions, and you have a buffer zone of I think like 300 kilometers of desert from the ocean to inland. So you know, to see, there's nowhere else in the world where you see a lion walking on a dune, and you're thinking, the fuck, sorry for my language, is this thing eating? Like, where is it getting water? And like all around the world, like now recently India got some cheetahs from Namibia to try and reintroduce them. Historically used to be cheetahs in India, and they went extinct, and they're trying to bring it back. And I mean, this is like a normal thing around the world. If you start a new game reserve, for example, you'll bring animals from one place to another, like get rhinos from South Africa, put them on your reserve, to try and reintroduce the nature. But these animals living in the desert needs to be protected, because you cannot take an elephant from anywhere else and put it in the desert and think it's gonna live. That's years of especially for elephants, they're very good at passing on memories from their ancestors to their kids. Like, stupid way to give an example is like, let's say my great-great-grandmother said in the third season of drought or whatever, you must walk 100 kilometers south, then left, then there's a spring, or blah blah blah, like these crazy ways to know how to survive. Same for the lions. You cannot take a lion from anywhere else and put it in the desert and think it's gonna know how to live there. That's why I think it's definitely necessary that no one lives there. It's necessary that it's protected, and it's a very unique landscape.
And what about the population? I mean, how many European-looking people and how many autochthons people are there in Namibia?
I feel a little bit ashamed to say I don't quite understand all the cultures of Namibia, because there are a lot. It's very confusing. You have, for example, Himbas, maybe you would know. This is like people who put like mud on their face, plait their hair, like these brown clay colors. And I think they are the closest ones. They're in the Bushmen who haven't adopted this European kind of lifestyle, like wearing normal clothes, eating the food or whatever that the Europeans brought to Namibia or Southern Africa. So you have the Himbas, then you have the Bushmen, who were, I think, the last hunter-gatherers, so nomads moving around, setting up tracks, eating roots, like very wild lifestyle. And I find it so amazing that these Bushmen, for example, were all over the show, but the last ones around like the Etosha area, which I mentioned, the national park where I worked, and still less than 100 years ago, that's how these people were living. They never saw European people before in their lives. They never heard about, what is a burger, what is like exactly. They just know that, making a bow and arrow and providing everything that's around them. That's what they use to survive. So you have the Bushmen, you have the Himbas, and the rest of the cultures have adopted the European lifestyle. So you have Hererus. I think they were the first ones to adopt this European lifestyle. So they're a little bit more in line with the world we know today than these other two. You have Caprivians, you have Namas, you have Tamaras, you have Bambus, you have Oshibambus. There are a lot of kinds of people. It's not just black and white, if I can say it like that. And even if you again then look at the white people, you have English speaking people, you have German speaking people. I myself, I'm Afrikaans, so coming from Holland, Dutch dialect. So many different kinds of people living in Namibia, and if you're asking for ratios, that makes it difficult because there are so many different kinds. But the dominant tribe is the Bambu people. And I don't know much about the Bambu people. What I can tell you, as a head guide, one of my challenges was that we had little rooms where we stayed in. We didn't have a house, so the company cooks food for you because we have these long working days. So you don't need a kitchen. There's a shared toilet area and then rooms where these people stay in. And some of the newer guides had to share a room, so sleep together And the time when I was head guide, it was very difficult because I was Afrikaans girl. We had 2 interns, one from Holland, one from the USA.
Yeah.
So these 2 shared a room. They were very close, so they were good friends. Then we had a Bambu, we had a Caprivian, we had a Herero, we had a Damra, and these cultures it's difficult to put 2 different cultures together. Everyone gets along very well, we can all sit around the table and that's fine, but it's a different thing when you put people in one room and religion becomes involved. And like, for example, the Herero guy, which was then at that stage one of the newer guys, he's very wealthy and like living, he comes with his big fancy car. He brought a TV into the room where like some of the other people cannot even dream about, bringing a TV or owning a car. So then you put these 2 very different kinds of people in one room. It's challenging. So
did you do you need to speak the language sometimes, or do you have some notions about the languages?
No. I speak Afrikaans and English. Everyone can speak English. So of course, we are in tourism. The guides all need to speak English. So we communicate in English. I have no clue about these languages. Like, it's difficult. Like the Bushmen, for example, they have these click sounds, and because there are so many different kinds, it's not possible for me to learn it. This is the European bee-eater. That's my ringtone. That's the European bee-eater. It's the one that migrates between Europe and Namibia.
Is there anything you want to add about Namibia?
I want to add onto the population of Namibia. So we already discussed that it's very not densely populated. I think Mongolia, it's the least populated country in the world, and Namibia is the second with the 2.5 million people. But it's even more crazy if you think about it. Like I said, no one is living around the coast area, like in that whole strip there. And then we have a very big river between Namibia and Angola in the north, the Kunene River, and going to the east, again in the north into Zimbabwe, which ends up at the Victoria Falls. You have the Caprivi area, and that's more like a foresty area of Namibia, so lots of water, and that's where most of the people live. So I would say if you take from the border of Angola south into Namibia, maybe something like 300 kilometers, that's where 70% of the population lives. And if you think about it, that Windhoek, the capital city of Namibia, is in the center of the country, in the middle. I mean, that's then where it's also very densely populated. That gives you a better perspective of how empty the rest of the country is. Yeah, like I said earlier, two deserts. You have the Kalahari in the east, and then you have the Namib Desert, the oldest desert, to the west. Yeah, it's very spacious. And you asked earlier, why do people like to visit Namibia? I think I didn't answer that. For most people, I think this is the reason. It is a feeling people from Europe can never know or understand. You are driving, like I said, for 2 hours without seeing any human, any building, nothing. And I mean, you can feel you're the last person on Earth. Yeah, it makes 2 hours, 3 hours. I think it makes you feel quite small. Yeah. So this is why people visit Namibia, and I think that's why I would choose to stay in Namibia. Namibia is unique that it has, like I said, you have the forest close to Victoria Falls, you have the desert, you have the savannah, you have mountains, you have flat areas. There's so many different landscapes, so little people, and it's a very safe African country. I promote some tourism for Namibia here for a second. Affordable country, safe country. Whereas if you look at Botswana, it's a very expensive country to visit. Botswana. Yeah, Botswana's idea of tourism, they have the delta, so a lot of water. You cannot just drive. So like I said, you visit Namibia, you need to rent a car. So what Botswana does is much less people visiting the country, but for a much higher price, and they more like to fly in safaris because you cannot drive. So Botswana is a very expensive country to visit. Beautiful, also very beautiful country. And South Africa, things are not going so well at the moment. They have some power shortages, outages, and crime is going up. And so, yeah, if you really, I don't know what it's like in Kenya and Tanzania. I think those are also beautiful countries to have a safari. But yeah, I think Namibia is
It's a good option.
a good option, yeah.
I think you did a good job to convince people to go to Namibia. At least I'm interested, yeah. So now, after Valencia, so what's the plan? You're going to Ibiza, right? Yeah, you're going to stop by Ibiza. You're going to have a layover there. Any plan over there? Any idea what you're expecting to do?
So, like I said in the beginning, I planned my holiday by just going on Google Flights, and Ibiza popped up as a layover option from here. Next stop is Paris, and it's a bonus. You see another island, Ibiza. You know, there's a song about it. I took a pill in Ibiza. You know, it's a famous place. You see it in the movies. You know, people go there to party. I just want to say I will be there looking for birds.
Well, it's good actually, because contrary to what everybody thinks of Ibiza, when I went there one time, I was surprised by how beautiful the island is. As soon as you leave the coast and you leave all the party bullshit behind, you go to the coast, and it's very hilly, it's very mountainous, and beautiful forest. And even if it's very small, you can be alone by yourself. But of course, you have to leave all the nightclubs behind. So maybe rent a car. I don't know. It is maybe you can probably take a bike and go around, you know, easily.
I rented a scooter. Yeah. I rented a scooter. So that's the plan. My layover is something stupid like 14 hours, which means I will have to overnight at Ibiza. And since I'm planning to travel on a budget for my 3-week holiday, Ibiza doesn't really fit into the budget. So yeah, the option was, you know, to have your layover in the airport. But yeah, I did something a little bit crazy. So I googled staying in Ibiza for free. That's and yeah, something popped up there. It's called a Zero Room. And it's very fancy. It's in a very fancy hotel. Something like I don't know. Something like Arts Hotel, Ibiza Art Hotel. I don't know. It's beautiful, very beautiful, very fancy. And they have this Zero Room where you can stay for free. And of course, there's a catch. So the catch is that your room it's in the lobby and it's a glass room. So you are the art. Anyone can walk, or you're part of the art of the rest. I'm sure there's different art as well, but yeah, people can walk past and watch you basically, and in return you stay for free. Of course, you get to use the nice swimming pool and all the other fancy things that comes with the hotel. And when I booked this room, first I didn't think I was going to get it, because I'm sure, I thought, you know, many people wants to stay for free in a fancy hotel. But it was available, so I got this booking, and for some reason I was very excited about this. So I phoned my sister, and I was like, you will not believe what I just did. And I told her the story, and she's like, she said, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you want people to look at you? And my argument is, which I think is a very good argument, when you are sleeping in the airport on a couch,
people are watching you.
People are watching you as well. I might as well do it in luxury. So, that's the mindset. I get a comfortable bed, I get a bathroom to shower, I get a nice hotel, and it's for free. And my flight leaves 6 a.m. in the morning, so before other people will wake up, I'll be out. I think it's a pretty good deal. So that's my Ibiza experience. Like I said, I rent a scooter, do some birding along the way.
That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Ibiza is for the night.
Excellent.
Can I share your Instagram account on this episode so that people can follow your Ibiza adventures in the Zero Room and ask you maybe some questions if they have some questions about Namibia?
So I think I'd like to start my own company. So if people want to follow, they must follow. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a last question before I forget. Colandri, does it mean anything? Your name? Where does it come from?
I think again feel very special. It's a very unique name. I don't think there's someone else with this name. It's not the Afrikaans name. It's a mixture of my parents' names. So my mother's name is Colette, which is maybe like a little bit French.
Yeah, it sounds French.
Yeah, Colette. And my father's name is Andries, which is Dutch or Holland. Yeah. So the COL of Colette and the ANDRI from Andries is Colandri.
Well, Colandri, thank you very much for all these details about your country, about your travels. Do you have any things to add, maybe?
Just want to say thank you to you for. I've never been on a podcast, but yeah, I think it's a privilege again to get to speak about my country. People don't know about Namibia, so it's good if they learn a little bit more. And tourism it's very important for Namibia. The country depends a lot on it. The economy depends a lot on tourism. So people must come visit Namibia. And also I don't know if it's a good time, but also for yesterday. Yesterday I broke my phone. It's a public holiday. You helped me out. So I'm very grateful. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Or what do you say in Afrikaans?
Baie dankie en tot ziens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode. You can find more information in the note of the episode. Feel free to share, like or comment on your favorite podcast platform and on our Instagram page. See you soon for a new interview with a new traveler.